Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It has been quite a while since I made a general update, since I haven't actually been very active on YouTube for the last few months. But I'm trying to get back into the swing of it, and as such I thought it would be a good idea to bring you, to give you a quick overview of how everything is doing. There's the orchid wall there with most of my Phalaenopsis orchids. I've got my new orchids down here, the Paphiopedilums. I also have the Masdevallias, from which I have good news, and a few other things to tell you that I don't think have been mentioned yet. So I'm just going to give you a general update. I'll try and keep it as quick and short as I possibly can, since there's a lot to go through. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments down below, and I can always make an extra video going into more details about whatever you're interested in. So let's get started. I just want to show you my Paphiopedilums, and these are the only two Paphiopedilums that I have. They're also two of my newest acquisitions. I only have them for about 4 days now, and I just want to show them to you because the first bloom has opened on my Lady Isabel. So I'll just take you in for a close-up. And there you have her. I am so incredibly pleased with this orchid. I love the symmetry of the flower and how the pouch is almost exactly in the center of the actual bloom. And the markings are super crisp and clear. You have this really nice contrast between the deep red purple and the creamy white background. And the veining on the lip looks really cool. Another thing that I really like about this flower is the hairy, whatever this is, I forget what the name is. I think it's called a shield. It kind of looks like a backboard for me, like where you shoot the basketball against before it falls into the basket. But it's fuzzy, it has tiny little hairs on it. And I just think that's amazing. And these tiny little hairs on the petals as well. Well, it's probably quite normal for Paphiopedilums, but for me, this is new on an orchid. So I'm excited about it. It's super cool. And yeah, I'm just so stoked about this orchid in general. Now the flower spike is still growing and the next bud is opening. So soon we'll be able to have more than one flower open. And with the rate at which they seem to be unfurling, I think we might actually have full bloom in maybe a week or two. And at that point, I'll be sure to film it and share it with you guys again for the What's in Bloom video. So stay tuned for that. Now in other news, we have some spikes forming on the Phalaenopsis orchid wall. So you can see here, I'm at the orchid wall. And this here is my Phalaenopsis samara, which I got as a gift from Annabelle from the orchid room. And you see a little spike forming here. So hopefully in a month or two we'll have blooms from that, and I'm looking forward to it. My other samara is not making any spikes yet, but my Bellina has a spike that's even better developed. It's well on its way. And this Bellina has always been a fantastic grower for me. I got it from the orchidarium, and just look at the size of that last leaf it made compared to the older ones. It's doing really well. I don't know what this weird indentation here is. Mechanical damage, maybe from the move. Anyway, I'm super stoked with this plant. It's doing super well. Now, all over the wall, with all the Phalaenopsis, there are loads of new leaves being grown. I think almost all of them have some form of growth activity, be it new leaves or spikes or roots. And this is the KS Happy Eagle, or the No ID, which I sort of identified as a KS Happy Eagle. And it was doing very poorly. It came as one of two orchids that just weren't doing very well. One of them I lost, unfortunately, but this one seems to be making a comeback. I kept it in a little terrarium for a little while with very high humidity, and it seems to have taken to it. And now I've put it in Synthic, which is like an inorganic form of sphagnum moss. And as you can see, we had a tiny little leaf here when it started recovering, but then got a little bigger. And now it's working on another one, which hopefully will be bigger still. And if I look in the pot, there are a decent amount of roots. So that's recovering very nicely. And I think that's all the news I have on my Phalaenopsis orchids. Except it isn't, because I forgot I have one Phalaenopsis orchid in a different room. And it's also making a new spike. And this is the Phalaenopsis samara Cosmicus C1, which I got from the orchid show in Bern this year in January on my birthday. So I'm happy that this is making a new spike, and we will be sure to have new blooms soon. And that was all from my Phalaenopsis orchids. And everything is going well with my two Masdevallia orchids as well. Here you can see the no ID with the orange blooms that was doing very well earlier. It's still doing very well, making lots of new growths, and it just keeps on going. I do have one small issue with it. As you can see here, sometimes a few of the new growths start to yellow at the top like this. I know it's not a lack of moisture because they're in self-watering pots, and I always ensure that there's water in the reservoir, it never dries out. So I'm a bit unsure about what causes that, but it's like 1 out of 10 growths, so it doesn't seem like a huge problem to me. But it is a little bit puzzling, and I have as of yet not been able to identify any flower spikes developing. But then it's difficult to really see what anything is in this huge little clump of grass. But there's always new growths developing, like you have here, and lots of others around here as well. So this plant, this no ID Masdevallia, is doing really well. And then on the left we have a species, which is the Masdevallia coccinea. And last time when I did my Masdevallia update, it wasn't doing too great. It had some yellowing growths. You can see it has all this spotting on the leaves, although it did come with that as well. And it just simply wasn't doing anything. It wasn't growing. But since then, it seems to have kind of found its stride on my balcony. And it is actually growing a lot of new growths. So I'm hoping you can see well. But there's lots of new growths down here. Over here also. It's bursting with growth all of a sudden. So I'm thinking that maybe I kind of overdid it with the cool ground requirements. And I put it on the balcony when actually it was still a little bit too cold for it outside. Oh, here's another one. And now the temperatures are heating up a bit, it's actually doing a lot better. So that's a note to me to take them indoors when winter comes, because maybe these aren't quite as cold growing as people would try to make it seem. So far, so good, and I look forward to seeing it grow some good roots and hopefully flower spike in the future. I don't show you this orchid on my channel or my Instagram very often, but it's actually a very good grower and I'm really happy with it. The reason I don't show it very often is because it's huge. Let me just go stand next to it. Like actually huge. And when I got it first, it was about this tall, and I couldn't be bothered to buy a larger trellis. So what I did is I just kind of wrapped the vine round and around the trellis, I think about 5 or 6 times, which makes it look really bushy at the bottom. But then I finally gave in and I bought some very long staking sticks actually to give it something more to climb on. And now it's all the way up there. And it's gotten to the top of it, so I've already begun to kind of twist the largest vine back down. But yeah, this grows like a weed and I love the foliage. It's always in my kitchen, it enjoys the extra humidity there. And maybe, fingers crossed, one day this vanilla vine will actually flower, because vanilla vines need to be at least 3 meters long to be able to flower. And even then, the flowers only last about 24 hours, so you need to be very fast with pollinating them if you want to get a vanilla seed pod. As well as Phalaenopsis, I have a special place in my heart for Catasetinea, and I don't have more than this because they tend to be more difficult to come across, but also they tend to take a lot of space when they are in active growth, as you can see from this one in particular. Now this is the Cycnotis Warsawixa, and it is growing like crazy. So that one's doing very, very well. I have my Verkla Chiara After Dark here, which is also making 2 new growths. I've got my little Cloecia Grace Dunn, which was in bloom recently, and I'm sorry I didn't get around to filming it for you guys. It faded so much faster than I thought it would, but it does now have a little new growth right down there. And I think that's the only one. Let me see. Ah, no, there's one more. Can I focus? One more right down there. So that's 2 small new growths. This one's definitely behind on its brethren. Now next to it we have the Catasetum Jumbo Sweet Penguin Jumbo Sweetheart. And this is a bit of a special case because even though it's more or less the start/middle of the growing season, it's already making a flower spike. This is the first time one of mine does this. I've since learned that this is apparently quite normal behavior for some Catasetinae. So there's nothing strange or special about it, but I will extremely psyched to see this. So I won't need to wait until next winter to be able to see blooms. I can just enjoy them in the middle of summer, which is fantastic. And last but certainly not least, we have the Cycnodes Wine Delight, which is one of my favorites. If you follow me on Instagram, you've definitely seen me post a lot of photos of it. It creates this beautiful cascade of deep red and very waxy flowers. The only thing I don't like so much is the smell. Either way, it is making one nice new growth over here, and it's just doing its thing, growing lots of roots, and all of them are doing great. And for those who are wondering, yes, I do still have them in the self-watering setup. All of them are either in Synthic, which is the inorganic form of sphagnum moss, or sphagnum moss. I prefer Synthic because the sphagnum moss breaks down quite fast in the self-watering setup. I didn't have enough Synthic to repot all of them, so I think 3 of them are still in sphagnum moss, and I'll probably put them into Synthic next year. Now next up, bulbophyllums, and this is where things get a little less positive. As you can tell from the discoloration of this leaf, I'm not doing very well with them at all. In fact, if I give you a bit of a close-up, then you'll see that the bulbs are terribly shriveled. And this new growth, although it tried to create some new roots, somehow just didn't keep growing them. They just kind of stopped and remained super stumpy and never actually elongated, which means this orchid is not getting water because clearly it needs new roots. The old ones have died. So I think that I'm going to lose this one. And this is the first bulbophyllum I ever got. This is the bulbophyllum fascinator. And that's just a real shame. And the other one over here is a little seedling. It's a seedling of bulbophyllum frostii. And I don't know if it's doing well or poorly. Like you can see that the old bulbs are very wrinkled. However, there is a new growth coming and it's growing at a decent pace. But the odd thing is that the back bulbs are slowly browning one by one. I've already cut it off twice. Maybe I'm too late each time. But there seems to be this brown, I don't know if it's rot because it doesn't feel squishy or smelly or anything like that. But they slowly brown and then wither away. I hope it stops because I cannot cut this one away without dire consequences because then it's just a single bulb with a new growth. But hopefully it picks itself up and it will be all right. I think that one of the issues I have with bulbophyllums in my apartment is the low humidity. So what I've been doing for this one, which seems to have encouraged the new growth, is I've actually taken a different transparent pot and just placed it on top like this to try and maintain some of the humidity. It appears to work decently. And the other thing I do is I keep it pot as well below the rim to try and trap humidity as well. So I'm hoping that's enough. And I hope that I figure bulbophyllums out soon because I recently got these 2 humongous additions, or well, this one's humongous, this one less so, from a friend of mine here in Switzerland. And I'm excited to see them do well. This one I have a very good shot with because it's huge. It has lots of backup bulbs. This one's a little bit of a rescue case. You can see it's just an old, already yellowing bulb which feels soft and I should cut off. Oh my god, it feels like it could be rotting. Do you see that? Do you see that move? That's not good. Okay, I need to cut it off. And then I've got this bulb, and then there's a new growth here. Ooh, and a tiny bulb here I see. But clearly I need to unpot this as soon as possible and cut this off because that felt like it was rotting. So this is a little bit of a rescue case, and it's bulbophyllum, what does it say? Claptonense. I'll put a photo up on the screen if I can find one. And the other one, which is a lot better state and a lot larger, is bulbophyllum Jersey. Now, he told me one of these is supposed to smell really nice, actually, which I'm not used to from a bulbophyllum. But this bulbophyllum Jersey is doing a lot better. We've got one big new growth here. I believe there was a smaller new growth over here. Yes. So even if I mess up all the other bulbophyllums, I hope I at least manage to save this one, because if I can't make this one thrive when it has such an advantage, then I don't deserve to have bulbophyllums. I clearly then just can't grow them. So this is basically my last attempt. If this one fails, no more bulbophyllums for me. And now comes the most tragic update of all. For those who watch most of my videos and saw my orchid haul from the orchid show in Bern, you know that I bought 3 seedlings, but also 3 little orchid flasks with different Phalaenopsis crosses, all of them like Polyclidus crosses, which I was very into and very excited about. But I messed up completely and I left them on the heat mat when I went away for a long weekend. And when I came back, they were literally steamed. I could see through the leaves. Yeah, they really look cooked to me. There's no substance in the leaves anymore. I can see the veining right through them. I think these are all dead, cooked and dead, which sucks because it was the cross I was most looking forward to that. So that's a real shame. I've already thrown them away. There was no chance of reviving these at all. So unfortunately, I have an attrition rate of 100%. I have learned a valuable lesson to simply not leave things on the heat mat while I'm gone when they're in their own little terrarium and they can't lose heat easily. Yeah, I feel a bit stupid about that, but I know for the future that if I ever try a flask again, I am not putting it on a heat mat, especially not for a long period of time. So what I'm left with is the Double Fine Frostii you saw before, and these two. This is a little Leonis, and this is a little Renanthera monarchica. And the Leonis, you can see, is starting to grow a new leaf. It has taken a while. It was doing nothing for a long time. In fact, it dropped a few bottom leaves. But now finally it seems to have some sign of growth, so it might be picking up its pace a little, which is great. And the monarchica, I can't tell if it's growing. It seems to be okay. It has also dropped a few bottom leaves actually, so it has a rough time adjusting. And I think that maybe this leaf has extended a little bit, but it's difficult to tell. I have to go back and compare it to old footage. So far, not doing great with the seedlings. Did terribly with the orchid packs or the flasks, whatever you want to call them. And that was unfortunately the sad news from this update. So that was all that I had to show you right now. Of course, there are other things going on, but I don't want to make this video far too long. It's already 18 minutes, which is more or less what I was hoping for. So I'm going to sign off now, and if you guys have any questions or want to see any particular plants or group of plants, let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, of course, leave a thumbs down. But do please write down in the comments how you think I could improve. And if you want to see more of my videos in the future, please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you here next time. Bye!